Why IT Matters, a presentation by Larry Moody for the Management of Information Systems 580 WSU Executive MBA class, summer of 2013. Before I begin the presentation, I will first provide a clarification and then state my thesis. The rest of the presentation will provide examples from real-world case studies and industry anecdotes. The clarification. Of course, IT matters to everyone. But for this presentation, I will use the definition inferred from Nicholas Carr's article, IT Doesn't Matter. In other words, the times when information technology matters is interpreted to mean when IT should be developed in-house instead of outsourced. My thesis. IT should be developed in-house when it helps develop and provide a sustainable competitive advantage. This occurs when IT is aligned with the business strategy and used to help perpetuate the business objectives throughout the value chain of the company. Not every category of IT meets this criteria, but the categories that do must continue to be adequately funded in-house. The categories of IT that don't should be outsourced. Examples such as Screencast-O-Matic are provided to help clarify the argument. This presentation is divided into three sections. In the first section, I'll define exactly what we mean by IT. I'll address a little bit of the components and the categories of IT. In the second section, I will address Carr's arguments that IT doesn't matter. In particular, IT as utility, the IT build-out, and then the value of universal standards. And then finally, in the third section, I'll talk about how IT can be used to create a sustained competitive advantage by, first of all, altering industry structure, in other words, enhancing the 5 competitive forces, and second, perpetuating business strategy throughout the value chain of a company. Now that we have defined what it means for IT to matter, we next need to define what is encompassed by IT. The scope of IT is so much greater than simply hardware and software. IT also includes the categories of people, procedures, and data in addition to hardware and software. Next, it is worth noting that IT encompasses several categories. This is important because the thesis of this presentation differentiates whether software should be developed in-house by factors such as category. The most basic category of IT is the transactional applications, such as point-of-sale systems. Next is IT that supports decision-making in a firm. The third category is IT that helps develop a company's intelligence on its customers, processes, markets, etc. The final category, relational, helps to connect the users to enhance collaboration. In his article, Carr argues that most IT companies are trying to position their software as ubiquitous utilities that are preferred by most people across the grid of the Internet. As an example of this argument, consider Screencast-O-Matic. The IT department at WSU had a choice: develop an in-house capability similar to Screencast-O-Matic, or purchase this capability from outside WSU. Developing the capability in-house might have enabled WSU to obtain a competitive benefit over other universities with online content. In the end, however, the free cost, compatibility with widespread standards, and capabilities convinced the WSU IT department to purchase the software instead of develop it. Screencast-O-Matic matters to its users, of course, but it is more cost-effective to purchase this capability than develop it in-house. Carr's argument loses validity, however, because it does not apply to the categories of IT that provide a competitive discriminator, as I will discuss further in Section 3. Another argument made by Carr is that the build-out of IT is similar to that of other infrastructures such as railroads and telegraphs. Facebook is an example of a social networking site that derives value from its build-out. According to Wikipedia, Facebook has over 1 billion users as of March 2013. The technologies that Facebook uses to create its networks and interfaces can be easily duplicated. However, Facebook now derives most of its value from its build-out, an expansive network, instantly allowing communication between people all across the world. Once again, however, Carr's argument is limited in that it does not apply to all categories of IT. Finally, Carr argues that a build-out forces users to adopt universal technical standards, rendering proprietary systems obsolete. In fact, certain software only derives value if it is compatible with widely used standards. To illustrate this point, consider the case of email application software such as Microsoft Outlook. This software, along with all other email software, must comply with the established standards for email protocol. There are lots of other email applications, including web browser-based applications. Carr's argument is limited, however, as companies may derive value from internally developed email applications that might have certain desired features, such as security features. As stated in the beginning, IT matters when it can create a sustainable competitive advantage. To do this, it must be aligned with the business strategy. Once aligned, IT contributes to the 5 competitive forces that alter the industry structure. First, the intelligent support category of IT can be used to help obtain and fine-tune a company's proprietary processes. A real-world case study would be the composite manufacturing process used by the Boeing company to help make their airplanes lighter and 20% more fuel efficient. IT processes were used to develop the process and evaluate its variability. This knowledge helps mitigate the threat of new entrants, substitute products, and industrial competitors. The bargaining power of buyers and suppliers are other competitive forces for IT that are ripe for IT. Harrah's Casinos provides an excellent example since IT was used there to develop an outstanding customer loyalty program. Harrah's developed a patron database integrated data warehouse to collect customer data from all their casinos. This database was used to target marketing through an IT tool that Harrah's calls a marketing workbench. This IT advantage was reportedly responsible for an increase in profitability of $50 million per year and a 72% increase in the number of customers that play at more than one Harrah's property. IT also helps a company obtain a competitive advantage by enhancing its value chain and also helping to perpetuate company strategy throughout the value chain. The role of IT in enhancing the value chain would be considered a support activity in the value chain description given by Michael Porter and Victor Milnar. Its function is to enhance the primary activities that gives a company its value. Some examples of primary activities include inbound logistics, operations such as manufacturing, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. Simply providing remote terminals for sales would also be an example. Just as important is the ability of IT to perpetuate strategy throughout the value chain. An example would be using IT to help enforce a strategy to reduce service costs by increasing manufacturing quality. IT can help collect the data to accomplish these objectives and provide a sustained competitive advantage. Therefore, IT matters.